Hey guys. Alright, so this weekend, after I finished making a whole bunch of stuff, I figured that I would get into the actual process of showing you how to animate something. Um, so you saw my armature, and if you didn't, the videos are on YouTube and on my Facebook page. But there's a lot of different, what's the word? There's a lot of different factors to consider when you're basically filming stop motion and animating and just filming things in general. It has to be really controlled. The first thing is that you want to make sure that your camera is perfectly still, because if your camera is jerking around, it's going to make your frame stuttery, and it's going to make your model, puppet, armature, whatever you're using, figures, basically jerk around and make it look like it's in an earthquake, which can make it look even more unrealistic. And the cool thing about stop motion, for the most part, is you can make it look realistic, but it always has this creepy quality to it, like robotic. And if you've seen some of the real pros, like Henry Selick or my favorite Phil Tippett, and even though you might not know their names, most people have probably seen Star Wars, where Phil Tippett became famous. Phil Tippett is one of the guys that basically was hired on A New Hope, or when it was made, it was just called Star Wars actually, to do the hollow chess where Chewbacca is playing R2-D2, and those claymation characters come up, and that one guy, who I think his name, they actually had names for all, I think there was 9 of them. One of them was called Hunk. If you guys are interested in Phil Tippett in particular, there's a great YouTube channel called Tested. I'll post it in the link below. And it goes to Tippett Studios, and Phil basically shows all of the original armatures for each of the creatures that he made. And if you've seen The Force Awakens, you can see that what they did is they went back into the archives, and I think they were only able to find 7 out of 9, or maybe there was 7 and they only found 5 out of 7 of the original armatures. And in The Force Awakens, I think Finn is getting into the back of the Millennium Falcon. He accidentally activates the hollow chest. It's really cool. They use the original 35 millimeter framing, and they made it look as accurate as you could possibly make it. The plasticine or Sculpey clay that they used back in 1976 when they were filming for the original degrades over time. So I'm not going to go into ridiculous detail over it, but if you are working with clay over your armature or your wireframe, it's very malleable and it's very posable, but you'll find that if you keep an armature with clay on it for a long time, that it's going to dry and crack. And there's some tricks to keeping it posable. Something like baby oil, things like that can keep your clay for longer, but eventually you're going to have to buy new clay. Going back to what I was saying though, you're going to want to be able to keep your camera still. Right now I'm filming on a Samsung S6 Galaxy. It's just propped up right against something. It's not professional, it's not a big deal, but for me it's really easy. I'm not doing a movie with my puppets, so I don't really care to take the time to get out a tripod and deal with firewire and all these different things. If I get into a project and I actually take out my DSLR camera and do all that stuff, then I'll do it. But for instructionals, this is fine. Or if you don't have something like that, I'm going to show you something that you can make that'll keep your camera still and give it some mobility, and you could deal with it. What I made was something like this. It's not exactly a tripod, but I framed it to the specs of my camera. Now obviously I'm filming off of my phone, so I can't take my phone and stick it in this and have you able to see it. But you can understand by looking at this that my camera basically slides right into this. And if I had something, I mean, I basically do. It's not exactly the same size as a camera, but you know, you could take your camera and it will slide right into this, nice and snug. You know, it's not the exact same size, but what I've done is I've padded it with some foam so it doesn't jiggle around in the top and in the bottom front here, so it has just enough space. And I've just taped it up so it's sturdy and it stands. If I ever need to angle it up or down, then I'll just put something underneath the front or the back to angle it. You can even like give it a little bit of motion control. I have some old RC cars and stuff like that I've rigged up wheels to the bottom of this, and I've like taken a pencil and just slowly pushed it with a pencil to replicate like a Vista Motion or a Vista Glide camera that they use in high-end photography. But just to give you an idea of how I made this, it pretty much looks like popsicle sticks, right? Well, above me in the rafters here, I have lots of scrap wood from projects. And I knew I didn't need anything heavy duty, so I just found some strips. They're really just shims in case I make something and I just need a little bit more space. And I framed it out. I took the dimensions of my phone and I measured it out. And I reinforced it in the front and the back on an angle. And I wrapped it up with duct tape. This is just simple black duct tape. It could be masking tape, electrical tape, you know. Just make sure that you wrap it up really, really good and strong. And then once you have it, that's it. You put your camera in it. Now, I know it's not high quality or anything like that, but I've been using this thing for months, and it's served me really well. It's a short video, real simple. Just wanted to give you guys an option. There's other things that I've used too. If you guys drive around with your phone in your car and you use GPS, you have other options. You can use the mounted suction cup phone holder that people stick to their windshield. That could work. And the good thing about those is they can even be angled and move. The only problem that I have with those is that those aren't meant to be used as cameras, so what you're going to have to do is when you do stick it, I'm just going to pretend this is it, if you do stick it in that, what you might have to do sometimes is you might have to slide the phone out just a little bit so the eye of the camera is sticking out, because most people's camera phone has the lens towards the top. And you might have an issue if you center it too much, because the plate that holds the phone in sometimes blocks the lens. And there's probably a million other things you could do too. If you guys have any ideas or anything that I could use that's cheap and quick, let me know. Alright, thanks guys.